Love the Lasombra. The Lasombra have the nobility the Ventrue wished they had, and they have the ambition that the Ventrue wished they had. And it's just so the Lasombra don't try. They just are cool, while the Ventrue seem to me to like always be trying to be cool like that. The Lasombra just like the way the clan is structured, even their weakness is like a fun one, the lack of reflection and all that. It's just great. It's just, I mean, they're royalty like the Ventrue, I guess, and the Toreador are, but in the Sabbat side, so they're savage royalty. They're unhindered and unbound by the conventions of humanity, which makes them so much more fun. All right, welcome everyone to the Rise 41 podcast with Geeked and Jacked. I'm your host, as usual, Gonzalo Gonzo Herrero. And with me is my fellow conspirator in all things that are World of Darkness, Dr. Todd Lee. And today we have a special treat for you. Today we're going to be talking Vampire the Masquerade the whole time. It is a deep dive into some fun stuff. So Todd, take it away.
All right, so this is our 5th attempt at filming this.
Yes.
And every time we got through Gonzo's list of his 5 least favorite clans, and we almost completed his list of the 5 favorite clans, and we have not gotten to my list yet.
That's right.
So we're going to go over his 5 least favorite clans again. So,
and hopefully for the last time.
Hopefully for the last time. So, Gonzo,
yes.
What are your 5 least favorite clans?
All right, so my 5 least favorite clans. Let's start with, in no particular order, Malkavian. Malkavian and Tribu, I believe, are the ones that I very specifically did not like, because I had a very different take than you did. To me, it was a chaotic neutral take, which is not a very fun thing for me personally to play, to role play. But I would like to hear your thoughts.
I think that the Malkavian and Tribu are better than the normal mainstream Malkavians. For one, they have demontation, which is a terrible discipline, but they make good antagonists. That they're kind of a shit PC unless you have a few options. One, a serial killer would make a good Malkavian anti-tribute. 2, I forgot what the other one was. And 3, they make incredible Blackhand Dominions. That being able to use Dominate in such a way to create sleeper agents, a Malkavian anti-tribute can basically set up Sabbat inside the Camarilla as members of the Prince's Court, and they can be all triggered at one time with a certain song or command word. And
that's right.
Like a Manchurian candidate, and they could all assassinate the Prince at the same time. Again, Malkavians have astral projection, telepathy, forgetful mind, so they can pretty much go anywhere, read anyone's minds, change their memories. And then with Cloak of the Gathering, they can cloak an entire group of that Blackhand. Although most of the Blackhand clans, whether they City Grow, Nosferatu, or of course Assamite and Tribute, have their own obfuscate that the Malkavians make great dominions. Because, I mean, you can't beat a telepathy dominate combo meal.
Yeah, that's hard to beat, for sure.
So a Malkavian anti-tribute as dominions or as other Blackhand operatives as spies are incredible. Like a Blackhand census taker. They go through, they can read people's minds and dominate and clean up the Masquerade if they need to, which the Sabbat don't admit that they do deal with the Masquerade per se, but they have the entire Grimaldi Ravenant line just for Masquerade breaches.
True. No, that's very, very true. And if you want to, I can cruise right along with these so we can get, because I really would want to hear yours. So next one, and again, in no particular order, was the Giovanni, which to me seemed like a rather, I'm not a big fan of Necromancy as a power. It's not a power that's interesting to me, again, to play. I can respect the Bloodline and the history of it for sure. That part is interesting, but their power per se is not one that really triggers my imagination or makes me think of clever ways to play it.
Okay. Which is ironic to me because later, I'm going to give it away, one of your favorite clans is very similar to the Giovanni. Mm-hmm. So, and the only difference is one little detail. So, the Giovanni are really not a clan. They're the name of a clan right now,
Right.
in between the 15th century and the end of the 20th century.
Right.
But by the 21st century, it has another clan name. And so when you only live in the 90s, your perception is that they are the clan, but really they are a bloodline of a much more interesting clan, the Cappadocians, which has had several bloodlines. And to me, that is the clan, not the Giovanni. The Giovanni is just the dominant bloodline in the end of the 20th. As far as necromancy not being interesting, to me, necromancy is one of the most powerful disciplines in the game because you can create an army of ghosts to serve you. Every time you kill somebody, you can summon them back as a ghost, and you can ask them questions afterward. If you didn't have telepathy to interrogate them, you can kill them and summon their soul back.
Yeah.
And that you can bind their souls to objects. You can rebind their souls to other bodies and create risen. Not to mention you can create zombies. It's endless amounts of servitors.
Yeah.
Just like a Ventrue would use dominating presence to have ghouls
Right.
and mortal servants. Giovanni has dominate to do that too, but they have invisible servants that are ghosts around them at all times.
Yeah.
Or
So
inside objects.
So I was gonna say, from a power standpoint, absolutely, I can see the application of that power and so on. It's just not, again, at least for me, like in a role playing game setting, it's all about me feeling that character and feeling like what to do with it, and that's just something like I don't know that I'd be. I guess with a clever storyteller, you could have a fun time with ghosts and wraiths and the undead, right? Especially the ones that may have some personality. That could be fun. But I don't know. I'd rather focus on other things, on the perhaps a little bit of the more personal struggle. And this will make sense later as we talk about the clans that I do like.
Well, I mean, I feel sorry for a player whose storyteller is so stupid that they can't run wraiths as NPCs. But on top of that, personal struggle would be you're like let's say you're one of those whiny vampires that gets upset when they kill someone when they feed.
Yeah.
Well, if you're Giovanni and you can see the ghosts of the people that are haunting you because you fucking killed them. And then so that's a huge level of a plot that you could use to emotionally traumatize a sensitive player. True. Because you have, it's like, let's say they kill some kid and they drink its blood. They see some kid with a ripped out throat everywhere they go, or he was playing like basketball. So like you see a bouncing basketball down the street and then you're like, and it basically makes your character think about the fact that he killed this ghost and this ghost is haunting him.
Yeah. It could open up so many storytelling possibilities. You're right.
He looks in a mirror, and then the kid's face is staring back at him, and then he like freaks out for a second, and then smashes the mirror. And someone's like, "What's that noise?" And now he has to explain why he smashed the mirror.
Yeah.
Like there's endless. That's just one victim. Mm-hmm. And that's without even using necromancy. Just having necromancy now means you're open to ghosts fucking with you. So you have to improve your necromancy to defend yourself against the ghosts you're creating.
There's a really cool storytelling opportunity I hadn't even thought about, which is super interesting. So there we go. All right, moving along again. Ravnos. And again, so me being a second edition mostly player, the Ravnos were like back then very much a stereotypical Magyar, Romani Rome, gypsy based, I guess, the more traditional one. So it wasn't as expanded as it is now, which I know. Tell me about it, because that has changed a lot.
Well, I mean, I think they had in the second edition, but second edition Ravnos Clan book was like 64 pages deep. So it wasn't a very complicated game. Mike Greenhagen wasn't the smartest kid in the class. Mm-hmm. So it's just that the Romani came from India. Right. So the Ravnos clan dominates in India, and their chimeristry is literally people seeing the projection of the chimera across the penumbral barrier between the near dreaming and the physical prime material plane. That they're not just casting illusions, quite the contrary. they have control over Chimera because in India, they have control over the Maya, which is the dreaming, which is
Right.
part of the nirvanic cycle, and it's where everything comes from. So Path of Paradox is the Ravnos' path, and they feel obligated to destroy things
Mhm.
to return that energy back into the grand cycle. So a vampire is outside the cycle, and so that they're basically, I think they're called Shaimulo, and they have
Mhm.
to be destroyed so that their energies can be reintroduced into the cycle.
Right.
And once you get to elder levels of this discipline, you can control reality. It's not just an illusion. You can bring the chimera across the
Right.
prime material plane. I believe it's a combination power, Chimera's G5, Fortitude 3 from Dark Ages,
Yeah, I
where
think so.
it's like very similar to Path of Conjuring. It's just you can do it with Chimeristry at that point. And then at higher levels, like like Demon Blade is level 6. You can conjure a blade that is made out of pure dream energy. And it goes on, of course, Nightmare Reality, Horde Reality is 5, Nightmare Reality is a level 6 power.
Right.
And then you have complete control of reality once you get up to a 9.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was gonna say, so there's, again, as the campaign or the story evolves, and you get into more powerful and more powerful characters, I can start to see like the possibilities, right? You can start seeing like, as most of these clans have, they, as you go further and things get, more powerful and wilder, the storytelling gets more vast, I guess, for lack of or the scope just increases like that much. So,
Nothing is more boring than North American Camarilla and their ethnocentric perspective on the outsider clans.
yeah,
That
yeah.
pretty much people who are playing live action cam games and
Hmm.
that's their only experience with the game, they know like 1% of the game. And all they
Yeah.
know is the Camarilla's self-aggrandizing bullshit of those 7 clans that are the 7 most boring clans.
Now, I will say this though, for the introductory level players, if you're trying to get new players into the game, especially from a LARP setting. So I mentioned before, like I was part of an ongoing LARP in New York in the
Hmm.
90s, which had an average of 70 to 80 players on this ongoing
Hmm.
chronicle, which is insane. They would like rent out a church of all places every month and do the session. So in that setting, the Camarilla was very easy to explain to new players and to start kind of like setting up that
That's
foundation.
all there was with live action because you just had people who wanted to be vampires who were humans.
Yeah.
So a human who wants to be a vampire has an easy time understanding a vampire who wants to be a human.
Right, right.
And then it's a low imagination, low sophistication group of people who have never played tabletop RPG, so they have no imagination and they can't handle a real RPG. It's just
Now,
a social outlet.
Now, I will say though, like the way this game was played, and we had some amazing level storytellers. So they did start introducing, of course, Sabbat characters and NPCs, and eventually they let some of the more advanced players, such as myself, once you got into it, try some of the more esoteric characters. You could play like archons, and you could play like black hand characters that were incognito at these conclaves, things of that nature to kind of keep those plots going, which was an amazing thing. I'll send you the link sometime, Todd, so you'll probably check it out. There's still like a page somewhere that has all the information and pictures. You probably get a big laugh out of it, or at least some entertainment value. So, all right, next one that I dislike, and this one's easy. Nosferatu. Nosferatu are just, they're ugly. I don't like their powers. I don't like the whole vibe of the reveling and being the beast kind of a thing, I guess, or but at the same time they're tortured. It's I don't know. It's the polar opposite of what I enjoy playing.
Yeah, it's just some emo bullshit. I'm ugly, and then I need all my disciplines just to cover up how ugly I am.
Yeah,
That you're
yeah.
so ugly, you need to obfuscate to hide, and you can't have any human or vampire friends because you're so ugly. So you need
Yeah.
animalism for companionship. They're just the shittiest clan,
Yeah, and you're
bar none.
misunderstood, and you're misunderstood. Like the only thing that they and I hate to say that because I sent many a Nosferatu player character to their death is the spies. That's it. That was like the only good value I could find. And I know that sounds cold, but as I did play most of the game I played, just so you know, was as the Toreador Primogen. So you can
Hmm.
imagine, master of media for that domain and that kind of thing. So Nosferatu were allies, sort of, but they were very much cannon fodder. And there were people that I would use to get info and do my thing in that campaign. So
Well, the
nothing.
Nosferatu are more loyal to each other than they are to the sect, so
Yeah.
you can't trust the Nosferatu not to pass secrets to the other sect.
You assumed that anything you said to them was their whole clan would know and probably some of your enemies, which, by the way, is a useful approach because then you can see, this, you can see plant
You
ideas,
spread
doubts.
rumors.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
you just feign having a weakness.
Yep.
Tell a Nosferatu about the way to kill you, and then all your enemies will try.
Yeah,
That's how you know who your enemies are, is they attempt to stab you in that weakness. Like,
that's
let's
right.
say, oh, I've got a mortal granddaughter, and she's the most important person to me. And then you just,
Right.
what do you call it, spy on her, and
Hmm.
whichever one of your enemies tries to kill her.
Now you know.
And it's like, oh, this person tried to kill my granddaughter. So, and you let them because they're not really your granddaughter, it's just some woman you picked. Then you're
Right.
like, okay, so this person's my enemy, it turns out. And
Absolutely.
so I hate the Nosferatu. So what's your least, the other five? The
And then
fifth clan.
the fifth one is the Ventrue again, because to me, and we'll go through the ones I like very quickly,
Mhm.
but the Ventrue are so aristocratic, noble, yada yada yada, vampires, whatever. But they feel hollow. They feel like a facade. The Toreador out of the high clans of the Camarilla. There's the Ventrue with their leadership type bullshit. Dominant, whatever. But they're no fun compared to even the Tremere, who were at least blood wizards, and that's at least some kind of entertaining thing. And they were self-made, right? So there's that. Or the Toreador, that at least, the Toreador provide you with a ton of very easy entry level role playing opportunities because of their clan weakness and because of their power, of their disciplines. Their disciplines provide a lot of storytelling fodder. If you want to play, a relatively emotionally involved, maybe high humanity kind of a vampire, it's a good one. Toreador, Ventrue offer none of that. Not really. They just seem kind of like cold and flat to me. They were not entertaining. That's all about it. God.
It's funny you bring that up too, that the three high clans of the Camarilla, that two of them have Auspex, two of them have Dominate,
Yeah.
two of them have Presence.
Yeah.
Which pretty much shows that Auspex, Presence, and Dominate are the most important things to have in the Camarilla.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty much the only things you can use in Elysium.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Without repercussions. So, or
Without getting
immediate
caught.
repercussions and getting caught. Yeah, true. All right, so that takes care of the dislikes. Now, very quickly for the likes, I already gave it away. My favorite, of course, Toreador. That's just the I naturally fell in love with that clan. Played it forever. It's the one that I have the most experience playing and I can relate to very easily as an artist myself. So, it's very easy to play the I'm an illustrator, I'm a painter, I'm a musician, so it just flows very easily. And that's not even counting like if you wanted to do like a unusual type of artist, like we've talked about, like say a martial artist. No reason why
Right.
a Toreador can be a martial artist, or
Right.
a fencer or something. I don't know.
Speed metal guitar player.
Yeah,
Presence
yeah,
level one, they all look at you. Celerity, they can play really fast. And then you use heightened senses when you're not on stage with an amplifier. So you
hmm,
can get even better because you can hear notes that normal humans wouldn't be able to hear.
yep.
Uh,
There's
It's
a
a good
scene.
discipline set.
I was gonna say there's a scene in an otherwise relatively terrible movie when they did the adaptation of Queen of the Damned.
Hmm.
There's a small scene of Lestat doing the violin with some gypsies. I don't know if you've
And
seen
you
it.
use celerity in that scene.
And that's really well done. That's the one scene in that movie that I was like, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool
All the
look.
Anne Rice vampires are Toreador.
Yeah, yeah,
Every Anne Rice vampire is a Toreador.
yeah, absolutely. And then so now the flip side, as far as fun stuff, Toreador Anti-Tribute, because that's the Toreador unleashed. Now I don't have humanity. Now I can do whatever I want, and I can be very creative and very dark at the same time, which can be super fun. If your mind kind of goes in that direction. So, what are your thoughts on that one, the Anti-Tribute?
Well, I love the Toreador anti-tribute. I mean, there's so many cool ideas. Like you could be a painter that uses human blood on human skin.
Hmm.
You could be your art form could be torture, something very
Hmm.
straightforward.
Yeah.
That your art form could be just killing. Like
Yeah.
you're an assassin and you just do the most. You could be a serial killer and
Yeah.
your art form is I'm an assassin. I know I brought up serial killer twice. You
Hmm.
could be a Malkavian serial killer,
Yeah.
or you could be a Toreador Antitribute and your art form is killing.
Yeah.
And you like, it's
They're super artsy, super complex, elaborate, like murders or hits. Or if hell, you could even be a hitman and have to do it artistically like that, which would be super fun. So to
right.
play, kind of twisted, but
Hmm.
fun. Next clan, Assamites. The Assamites are just fun. The killers of killers, man. And I've always found that dichotomy of because they serve, do they serve Cain really, or do they serve a little bit of Hassan? Is it Hassan?
It depends. If they're the normal parent clan, then they're on Path of Blood and
Hmm.
they serve Assam.
Yeah.
And they're trying to drink. They're basically bathed in blood because they can't drink it because of the Tremere curse.
Right.
And then if they bathe in enough blood of someone older than them, they can go down in generations. They use
Right.
rituals through Assamite sorcery to go down in their generations to be closer to Assam.
Yeah.
In the Sabbat, the Assamites of Tribute are in Path of Cain, and
Hmm.
they're basically trying to diablerize their way closer to Cain.
Yeah.
They're the Assamites that did not submit to the blood curse by the
Yeah.
Tremere at the Convention of Thorns.
Yep. Yep. And then we can move on to the
Well,
other.
not quite. You forgot three branches of the clan.
Well, yeah,
So
yeah. Let's go
that
ahead and introduce that to
so
the
this is, of course, only the ethnocentric Western point of view of the Assamites, is that
right.
they're assassins, because the only time the Camarilla interacts with the Assamites is either hiring them for an
Right.
assassination or being the victim of the assassination. The
Yep.
clan itself actually has devout Muslims who
Hmm.
are in the Ashira, which is a completely different sect in the Middle East, where there's Assamite viziers who are not assassins. They're like kind of like Toreador. They're
Yep.
politicians. And then there's also Assamite sorcerers, which are like the Assamites branch, similar to the Tremere. So you've got sorcerers, politicians, and assassins. And
Yep.
the only people the Camarilla or Western vampires see are the assassins.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Right.
or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, right? You know.
Yeah, I mean, all this changes, of course, because when Ushugli rises and he starts executing all the Muslims that are
Right.
part of Clan Assamite, Tigirius and Al-Ashad, the leaders of the viziers and the Assamite sorcerers, leave. They join the Ashira and Turan, and then eventually, in around 2012, Victoria Ash, who's a Toreador, of course,
Hmm.
marries Tigirius, and it creates the fundamental bond between the Ashira and the Camarilla, now making them one sect.
Right.
And then Tigirius was on the road to being the Justicar of Clan Assamite, but then when they did fifth edition, they made it woke and they fucked it up somehow. But we
Yeah.
don't
They
use
did.
the fifth edition plot line in our
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
We stick with the real world of darkness before fifth edition woke
Yeah.
came out.
Before that nonsense came out, and then of course I think this is the last, right? De La Sombra. Love De La Sombra. The Lasombra have the nobility the Ventrue wished they had, and they have the ambition that the Ventrue wished they had. And it's just so the Lasombra don't try. They just are cool, while the Ventrue seem to me to like always be trying to be cool like that. The Lasombra just like the way the clan is structured, even their weakness is like a fun one, the lack of reflection and all that. It's just great. It's just I mean, they're royalty like the Ventrue, I guess, and the Toreador are, but in the Sabbat side, so they're savage royalty. They're unhindered and unbound by the conventions of humanity, which makes them so much more fun.
So the Lasombra have the Path of Night rather
Yes.
than humanity, and there's different versions. There's Cold Path of Night, which is like Path of Power. There's Hot Path of Night, which is like Cathari or like Road of Sin from the Dark Ages. They've got Allied Path of Night, which is like Honorable Accord. They've got
Hmm.
Lightless Path of Night, which is similar to Road of the Abyss, which is like Path of Death and the Soul. So for every Sabbat path, for every Dark Ages road, the Lasombra have their own version of Path of Night. That there is the Kings of Shadow, which are basically Allied Path of Night or Cold Path of Night. They represent the monarchy of the clan. And they are the ones, like you're talking about, dark reflection of the Ventrue. They
Right.
lean more on dominate than they do on obteneration. But
Yeah.
they also have the Courts of Blood. And the Courts of Blood is you can take La Sombra to court, and charge him with a crime, and if you win the case, you get to diabolize him.
Right.
And that they decide the flow of the clan. Then there's the Abyss Mystics, which are basically like Cappadocians, where they're like they study the Abyss and Oblivion and Darkness and their Obteneration discipline to the point where they actually develop rituals, like magic rituals, and they can control shades, which are an extremely powerful version of specters, which have no mind but are just killing machines. So they can open up portals to Oblivion and pull out shades, which has got a big crossover to the Wraith game with specters, and it has a crossover to the Worm from the Labyrinth, from the Werewolf.
Werewolf of the Apocalypse, yeah.
That's the Abyss Mystics make the... And my favorite are the Black Angels, the Angelus Aether, which are basically a bunch of Lasombra who use rituals to turn themselves into Bali, so they can have access to demonic dark thaumaturgy without serving a demon. That they basically found a loophole to be able to get the black magic because Obteneration wasn't dark enough. Which is something I wanted to bring up, that it's ironic that you have a thing against the Venetian merchants who have necromancy.
Yeah.
But you like the Sicilian pirates who have shadow magic.
I love shadow magic, though.
But that's my point is, to you, necromancy is not cool, but shadow magic is. But in 5th edition, it's one discipline called Oblivion.
Oh, is it in 5th?
Yeah.
You know, I haven't wasted my time with 5th. I remember going to, like, thinking about picking it up, and then you and I actually talked, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time on that.
The pictures are cool. And they did some cool stuff, like with blood resonance.
Okay.
Where, like, if someone's on heroin, then you get melancholia. Like the blood has black bile.
Yeah.
Or if somebody is like on amphetamines, then they've got yellow bile, which is choleric blood. So they go into the 4 humors.
What about if someone's on AAS? Do you get like super angry? Somebody on trend.
Well, the point isn't to take drugs. The point is that in order to learn disciplines, you have to drink blood that is in alignment with that discipline.
Which makes sense.
And then you could either emotionally manipulate people, or you could just give them drugs and then get them in that state. So when you drink their blood, you get the results you want.
Right. Okay. Now that's an interesting little...
So if you want to build up your celerity or potence, you have to have someone who's got adrenaline in their blood when you drink it.
Right.
So beating them up or scaring them is the only way to get that.
Right. Right. Chasing them down, you know, the thrill of the chase and all that. Yeah. Okay.
But like, in order to get obfuscate, you kind of have to drink the blood of someone who's depressed. So you have to find someone who wants to sink away and not be seen.
Yeah, yeah. Which in today's world might not be all that hard, unfortunately.
Right. So, and the same thing with presence is to learn presence, you want to drink the blood of someone who's usually in a sexual mood. So generally, the types of people who use presence to feed do so by getting someone to fall for them sexually or some type of emotional attraction. Then they feed for them, disguising it as sex or intimacy. Right. And then thus it makes it easier to learn more presence.
That's the art of the seduction, right? You know, that's basically what it is. So, all right. So now I'm interested. Now I get to hear your side of the story.
All right. Well,
what do you got?
You only gave me 4 clans for that you liked.
Did I miss one? Let's see.
You said
got Lasombra, Torador, Anti-Tribute, Assamites. The Lasombra Anti-Tribute, actually, is the 5th one. Because, again, that is an interesting role-playing opportunity. If you like playing like that, you know, outcast kind of person that might be chased down by the enemy, I feel like it gives a lot of opportunity for the storyteller to inject you in all kinds of different scenarios and situations that could be interesting. Regardless of power level, too, by the way. Like, you could be like a 12th generation and still have fun.
But there's not going to be there's not going to be a 12th generation Lasombra Anti-Tribute.
Oh?
That Lasombra Anti-Tribute descend from Montano, who is in charge of the Black Legions of Rome. So that's where you get, like, Marcus Vital from. So basically, if you are a Lasombra Anti-Tribute, you're descended from Montano. And
so you're going to be, what, 7th, 8th?
8th is thicker. Okay. There's nobody thinner than 8th until the Lasombra officially joined the Cam in 5th edition.
Right.
in which case then they started embracing willy-nilly.
Right.
And then you're not really an tribute anymore. Now the Lasombra are just in the
Right.
Camarilla.
They're just Lasombra. They're just Camarilla Lasombra at that point. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, that's the. I like the idea of power with a conscience. It could be fun to play. Could give some
All right.
fun opportunities. So let's hear yours.
All right. My least favorite clan of all, the clan that I fucking hate with a passion, are the Bruja. To me, the Bruja, they used to be less detestable, but they took the individualist Bruja and moved them over to the Gangrel. So that now you only have the iconoclast and idealist Bruja. So you have the liberal university person spewing rhetoric about what their beliefs are, and they basically have this communist bullshit. Or you have someone who's a rebel who hates authority and just wants to destroy shit, but has no plan for how to build something better.
Yeah, yeah, which is kind of nihilistic and boring. So.
And their two clan disciplines, celerity and potence, every vampire can learn those without a teacher. And then their third discipline, presence, it doesn't really fit them that well. That basically it only in the sense of that they're a leader, if they basically tried to compel people to see their point of view and get their rhetoric going. But that isn't really the powers of presence. It's just charisma plus expression or leadership.
Yeah.
And most of them don't have that. So you could use awe to lead an attack. They have the power spark of rage, potence 3, presence 3, where they can stir up a mob to attack for them.
Right.
They've got dread gaze if they're a bully, and they can basically just scare people. And then they've got entrancement to make people like them. And you can tailor it. It doesn't have to be lust. It could be respect.
Yeah.
Where they could... Hey,
admiration.
Basically,
It could be admiration, yeah.
You could just talk someone into communism. Or you could emotionally manipulate and love bomb someone into being an assassin for you.
Yeah.
And going after a political person during the day when you're not really available. And then summon, you can bring people to your rallies. So like, if they're not going to come for punch and pie, you could summon a bunch of co-eds that you saw earlier at the quad and have them show up. And then majesty, of course, is great because after you run your mouth so much that people are about ready to kill you, now you can bust majesty so that people are afraid to fight you.
Yeah. They don't even try. Interesting.
But I just see them as an incredibly destructive force, like a thought virus fountain. And I hate them with a passion.
Yeah, I mean the whole concept of the philosopher kings of Carthage and all that stuff, that was interesting, but
it wasn't real.
Yeah.
That's all bullshit. So what it was is Moloch, who was a Bali, seduced Troil and basically got her to start doing infant sacrifices to him. That's why the Ventrue basically and the Lasombra and the Malkavians from Rome came together to shut it down.
Right.
And the reason why they salted the earth is because they beat Moloch and Troil into torpor and they earth melded. So they salted the earth so they could never rise again.
Right, so they could be stuck. Nice.
Now, a lot of people believe that that's because Sybil wasn't actually a Malkavian. She was a Bali the whole time. And she's the one who introduced Road of Sin to Rome. And that's why they had the orgies. And she did it in a weird way. She brought Road of Sin by the form of Path of Pleasure during Caligula's reign. And so that was how she was able to indoctrinate herself and corrupt most of Rome. And because Sybil was descended from Nergal, and as we know, Nergal wants to raise the Namtaru, whereas Moloch was into demonology, not infernalism. Now the difference is an infernalist wants to serve demons, bring them to earth so they could decimate humankind and get revenge for them being imprisoned in hell. Whereas a demonologist wants to summon demons so he can extort them and manipulate them for power the way a necromancer would. So Moloch was part of the Bali branch that was demonologist, and Nergal's branch was infernalist. So Sybil was lashing out at Moloch and did so by influencing all of Rome to assaulting Carthage, because Carthage was basically Moloch's playground. And during this time, Melanie had left. So theoretically, when Melanie was there, when he developed the path of Entelechy, then that was before Moloch came. So Carthage did have the Platonic ideal where humans and vampires could coexist, and that you were supposed to develop your mind and body in equal. But this Greek belief, it's historically inaccurate to apply to Carthage because Carthage was a Phoenician city.
Right.
And the Phoenicians were the sea peoples, and they were Lebanon, Cyprus, Spain, Carthage, and that's the Lasombra. But the Lasombra weren't part of it. So that's why you had so many Spanish Brujas as a result of this.
Right.
That was the only part of the Carthaginian Empire that wasn't destroyed in the Third Punic War, was the Carthaginians that were in Spain. And that's why in first edition, Spain was controlled by Bruja, because they hadn't came up with the Lasombra yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess all these things, that's the other thing that people who might be new to the game need to understand, that the game and the lore evolved over time. It wasn't just like written once and boom, done. It evolved a lot over time. A lot.
They didn't retcon it much after about 1998. Once 1998 rolled around, we had established historical shit, and they started moving forward with the plot. They didn't go backwards and try to fix it.
Right. It was just canonical at this point.
Most of the good plot was written between 93 and 92 and 98 was when most of the good plot was written.
Gotcha. All right. So what's next?
So that was your 5, right?
Yeah. Well,
we're talking about my least favorite. So I absolutely fucking hate the Bruja.
Yeah.
Okay, shit. I'm just going to go through the book really quick to see if I miss anything, because I don't want to not shit all over something that deserves it.
Fair.
Because I don't really think about what I hate as much as what I love. Because I can talk till I'm blue in the face about the clans that I love. I absolutely fucking hate the Bruja. All right, Ravnos. I fucking hate that clan.
Okay, so
I was so glad when they... I fucking hate that clan. They're so not necessary. Gypsies could have just been Gangrel. And the Indian stuff has absolutely nothing to do with the way the Ravnos were. They just had to work it in later. Once they flushed out the India pantheon of what clans were in India, from the Salubri to the Shamesi to there's a Shamesi branch from India. The Salubri are huge. I mean, the word Golconda comes from India.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a city in India. That's where Golconda comes from. That Salat stopped there on his way back from Asia. Okay. So I just hate the fucking Ravnos. That they're such a stupid clan that they worked in later. And then in 5th edition, they made them even more crappy because they retconned it to make it more politically correct.
Yeah.
And they're not gypsies. Now every culture has tricksters, and they change their disciplines around. So they're just shittier than before, which is hard to imagine you can make them shittier. But because like anything with animalism's got a huge handicap, because that discipline's fucking worthless. You basically have 2 in clans. So they have animalism, fortitude. So animalism's fucking worthless. Fortitude you can teach yourself, and then chimeristry. Yeah. But they don't have normal obfuscate. At least in 5th edition they fixed that. They gave them obfuscate and presence, and chimeristry was a collection of mixtures of those 2 disciplines. Okay. But then
it's a little different.
It loses the whole idea that you're actually shaping reality from the Maya. Right. So they fucked the clan over so hard in 5th edition that I fucking hate the Ravnos clan. They took a clan I hated and made it worse with the Bruja. Yeah. They took a clan I hated and made it even way worse with the Ravnos. Yeah. Malkavians. Fucking hate Malkavians. Because being crazy isn't a culture. That there's no reason to have a clan of vampires that are just crazy.
And they're all crazy in different ways. That's the thing. It's like there's no...
Anybody can have a derangement. Right. You don't need to have a culture of derangements. So then they tried to create the Madness Network to make it seem like there is this mixture, and that Malkav had prophecies and it drove him mad. But then instead of using the Auspex discipline, which is the discipline of seeing shit, right, they used dementation and gave them Eyes of Chaos. When Eyes of Chaos should be a combination power between Auspex and dementation. that you have to have Dementation and Auspex to have Eyes of Chaos.
Yeah.
Whereas the only good level of Dementation is Eyes of Chaos. And then in 5th edition, they took away Dementation. And they gave them one power that's a combination of Dominate and Obfuscate that called it Dementation. That you strip people's willpower down.
That sounds pretty bad.
Which is the same thing you would get if you used Possession.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. That doesn't sound fun to even play.
Connectivity.
Oh, did we? No, we shouldn't have. Keep going.
So I absolutely...
Keep going.
All right, so I absolutely fucking hate the Malkavians. So I hate the Brujah, hate the Ravnos, hate the Malkavians. God, there's not a lot of clans that I hate going forward.
Huh.
The Salubri. I
Boring.
really hate the Salubri. Nothing is more pathetic than a vampire clan where you have 3 eyes and you're trying to heal the world and reach inner peace. But once you reach inner peace, you embrace someone and then they diablerize you. So they steal your soul. So what the fuck was the point of getting the inner peace?
Yeah.
This is so stupid.
It's a clan that to me was designed to be like victims. They were designed to be like victims and story plot points, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that.
I absolutely fucking hate that. And then they retroactively tried to make Solid cool, but it's just a bunch of bullshit. That
it is.
The Salubri get hunt down and eaten by the Tremere, and it's kind of like the parent Cappadocian clan is kind of a lame duck bloodline. Because although I love the Cappadocians because of all the cool bloodlines in the Cappadocians, the Cappadocians themselves are as ghetto as the Salubri.
True.
That you're basically a clan of vampires that wants to get to heaven, and so you want to kill people and study the souls leaving the bodies so you can try to follow those souls into heaven. Like, that's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you basically embraced the Venetian bunch of merchants that had necromancy because you controlled physical death, but they had a better insight to the soul. So your attempt to learn how the soul works is to embrace them, and then they kill and diablerize all of you. You fucking have Auspex in clan. It lets you detect danger.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you not see that coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Cappadocians, as much as I love all the bloodlines of the Cappadocians, I love the Shamesi, I love the Lamia, I love the Harbingers of Skulls, I love the Giovanni, I like all the branches of Clan Giovanni and Cappadocian. The original Cappadocians are stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
And so those are my 5 least favorite. Now,
all right. Now let's talk about fun stuff.
My 5 favorite.
Yeah.
In reverse order.
Okay, so from least favorite to most favorite.
Of the 5 that are my favorite.
Let's see.
I'm going to start with 4. I'll come back to 5.
Okay.
Number 4. No. I'm going to start with 5.
Okay.
I really like the Kaisen. The Kaisen are fucking cool.
Okay.
The Kaisen are a bloodline of Lasombra that had somehow got fairy blood. But they're not like fruity fairies like leprechauns. They're like the Slua. They're like the creepy, dark fairies. They've got blue skin, and they're librarians, and they have the ability, they've got Auspex, Dominate, Necromancy, and Obteneration. So they're super fucking smart. They're perfect. They can tell riddles and shit and take over people's minds. And they do see fairy stuff. They can detect lies, but they can tell riddles and you have to unsolve the riddles. So Mythosaria is not a great discipline. That's their primary discipline is Mythosaria. But they also get Obtate, Dominate, Obten, Necromancy, Dominate, Auspex.
So I'm not familiar with the discipline. Yeah. What is that like?
Mythosaria sucks. But having Obten, Necromancy, Dominate, Auspex is a sweet fucking set.
Yeah. No, that's a huge set. That's a lot of firepower. All right. And the background is cool. You know, even with
they got blue or purple skin. They're basically the closest thing there are to drow.
I was gonna say it sounds like a drow elf.
They're like drows.
Yeah.
They're like vampire drow.
Okay.
They're fucking sweet.
All right.
Number 4, the Bali. Fucking love the Bali.
I knew you were going to put them in here
An
somewhere.
entire bloodline of just vampires that are shit. I've got an honorable mention in there
Okay.
too. All right, so the Bali are fucking awesome. I love the plot, the story. I love every NPC of Clan Bali is so fucking evil. That Diamoinian is a sweet as fuck power. You get to sense people's sins or weaknesses. Then you get to have a conversation with them, and it's a super subtle way of using dread gaze
Yeah.
or dementation on them. And then Flames of the Netherworld, you shoot black fire on people, and if
That's
they
pretty
burn
cool.
up, their soul goes to hell.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you can make them fight their worst fears, and if they die in fighting their worst fears, they die for real. And
Yeah.
then you get on a completely open-ended curse that's better than 3 different paths, like Path of Blood's curse, Path of Curses. And then you get rituals at level 6 that give you demonic investments without having to serve a demon. And then
Yeah.
by level 9, you give yourself infernal ranking, where you make yourself a demon. So
Right.
you're a vampire who ascends to the throne
Yeah,
of hell.
you've evolved.
Yeah.
Right.
On top of that, they've got obfuscate and presence. So they're super sneaky in a certain way. Like either they're very similar to the Setites,
Yeah.
which are also like the Setites are probably my 7th favorite clan.
They're fun. They're definitely
Yeah,
fun.
but
Yeah.
I just think that they were too influenced by Conan the Barbarian. They shouldn't
Little
have
bit.
Serpentis at all. They should have Necromancy. That
Yeah.
Anku specifically, Setite sorcery, should be their 3rd discipline, which basically makes the Setites an Egyptian-themed version of the Bali.
Yeah.
Or a Bali's a Christian version of the Setites. So they're so similar, I almost want to say Setites, Bali are tied for 4th.
Yeah, but I see that's actually pretty sharp. That the distinction is the pantheon, the pagan
Right.
version versus the
Right.
the Christian version, I guess.
Right. And then number 3, no fucking contest, is the Lasombra. The Lasombra are
Yeah.
bad as fuck.
Yep.
That whether you want to play, no matter what you want to play, there's a Lasombra for you.
Yeah.
You want to be a ruler, Kings of Shadows. You want to be a sorcerer, Abyss Mystic. You want to be something like a Bali. They have their own branch of Bali.
Yep.
Rather than they have Obten, Dominate, Diamoinian. They get to keep their in-clans, throw out Potence, and get Diamoinian. So they're their own sub-bloodline of a bloodline.
Yeah.
The Black Angels. That they have their own paths of enlightenment for everything. That they come from pirates. That their fucking magic is just like a kraken. They can use an inky shroud to blind you, tentacles to tear you to pieces. You can step in a shadow, pop out another shadow, or turn themselves into ink.
Yeah.
Like metaphysical ink, and then at higher levels they can open a portal to oblivion and pull out specters to fight for them.
Yeah.
They're so fucking amazing.
They
And then
are.
the fact that eventually that's incorporated in so that they can branch out into other forms of necromancy. Oh my god, the
Yeah, the
Lasombra are so
possibilities.
fucking cool.
The possibilities are very endless with that particular clan for sure. I love them too. Well, you heard me. I love
Just
them too.
the fact that your shadow can reach out and strangle people
Yeah.
that it doesn't like. The fact that your shadow can lean in and whisper in someone else's shadow and you can dominate them with eye contact. There's so many fucking cool Lasombra powers. The fact that they can flip their senses with Eyes of Night so that darkness sources are like sources of light and light sources are sources of darkness. So
Yeah.
like they can see through shadows, but a torch would blind. Everything's reverse. It's the
Yeah.
negative.
Yeah.
It's like the beginning of that show, Tales from the Dark Side,
Yeah.
where you get to
Yeah.
see what the dark side looks like. That's how a Lasombra sees reality
Yeah.
once they use Eyes of Night.
Nice
It's
call
just-
out, by the way.
Yeah, dude, Lasombra is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
All right,
That's nice.
the number 2 favorite clan
Yeah.
is actually a bloodline of my number 1 favorite clan. So I'm
Okay.
just gonna jump right up to my number 1 favorite clan.
Okay.
There's no one in the world would ever think that I wouldn't be up Clan Shamesi's ass. That the Shamesi are the most important clan, bar
Yeah.
none. That one, all vampirism in modern society comes from Dracula.
Yeah.
Dracula is a Shamesi. that the Shamesi are from Transylvania. They basically controlled housing people after the flood. That the Carpathian Mountains are where everyone was the only dry land. The Shamesi granted hospitality to those people.
Right.
That there's the Carpathian Mountains and the Transylvanian Alps and the Carpathian Mountains. In the palm of that hand is this demon cupola. And so they basically used magic to bind the demon cupola to the land and then extort magic from him so that they can control the nature around them. They can see everything in miles around them and can make the ground come up and rip people to shreds. They can sink in the earth and heal themselves. They can transform their bodies into whatever they want, look like anyone want. They can transform into a cupola spirit, which they called a Zulu form.
I mean, vicissitude is a super powerful discipline.
They can turn to blood. It's by far the best clan, and they get auspex. Unfortunately, they get animalism, but here's the thing. They can shape-shift anything they want. So they make these things called Schlotzka, which are basically more servants. So they can make ghouls out of humans that can fight, or they can take animals and turn them into war beasts.
Right.
And if they lobotomize the human, now it's basically an animal. So they can use animalism to control their Schlotzka. Or they can fuse a bunch of Schlotzka together and make a Voizod. So it's like 30 or 40 people all fused together with the brain of an animal.
It reminds me so much of the John Carpenter's version of The Thing. It's got that body horror kind of feel to it, like that clan, you know?
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And their lore is so deep. They've got different branches. There's a branch from Constantinople. There's a branch from Africa. There's a branch from India. There's so many fucking different branches of this clan.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. They bred human ghouls together for millennia, so they have families of human ghouls that serve them.
Right.
Kind of like the Addams family type shit. Although the Addams family is more like Clan Giovanni, but the Addams family would fit in there.
Would it be like, was it the Grimaldi maybe? Was that who it was?
Grimaldi's one of them.
Yeah.
It was the Grimaldi was going to be embraced by the Ventrue or by the Cappadocians, but the Shamesi got to him first.
Gotcha. I do remember that.
Then there's the Xantosas, which are prime breeding stock for the Toreador Antitribute. A lot of Toreadors embrace from the Xantosas. The Brodovich are basically like Gangrel. They're kind of boring. And then the Obertus are like librarian monks that they basically are from Constantinople, and they served the Keeper of the Word, which is a child of Dracon. But the Shamesi are by far the sweetest fucking clan.
That's fair.
And then, now, number 2 clan, a bloodline of Clan Shamesi, the Tremere.
Yes.
The Tremere were sorcerers that were going to lose their magic because the world was losing this, which is also called Quintessence or TAS, in the Ascension game. And they basically kidnapped Shamesi, and Goratrix used a ritual to embrace every one of the Council of Seven from that Shamesi blood. Now, eventually, to make themselves a rightful clan, Tremere led them to kidnap and diablerize Solid and other Salubri because they were the weakest and softest clan and the easiest to murder.
Yeah.
So they are considered to be a replacement of the Salubri line, but they're actually a bloodline of Clan Shamesi. The reason why I like the Tremere so much is because they're so organized. There's one Tremere with 7 counselors, and each of the 7 counselor has 7 pontifi, and each of the 7 pontifi has 7 lords, and each of the 7 lords have 7 regents, and each of the 7 regents have 7 apprentices. And then to go from the status of an apprentice to a regent, you have to go through 7 circles of mystery. And it's like you have to learn this much thaumaturgy. You have 3 in thaumaturgy, you go up to the 2nd circle. You get a 5 in thaumaturgy, you go up to a 3rd circle. You're going to develop your own ritual, you get up to the 4th circle. That there's organization for how to move up through the ranks. They have different colored robes. There's a code for them to follow. The Tremere are my second favorite clan. Now, I fucked up because I put, what did I say was 3rd?
Not the case.
I skipped 3rd, I think, didn't I? I said the Kaisen was fifth.
Yeah.
And then I said the Bali / Sedites was fourth.
Correct. Lasombra.
And then,
You had
Lasombra
in
was third. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I consider the Lasombra, even though they're a different clan, the Lasombra slot also goes to the bloodlines of the Cappadocians.
Okay.
So, for instance, the Giovanni are almost identical to the Lasombra in every way.
They're close, yeah.
Then there's also like the Nagaraja. They're Indian necromancers that eat human flesh.
Right.
Then there's the Samedi, that they're like zombies from the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about those guys.
Then
Those guys are fun.
there's the fucking Lamia. The Lamia are ancient servants of Lilith who have like fucking sweet witchcraft magic. And these are all bloodlines connected to the Cappadocian line. So it's kind of like, I guess I have to restructure this, that the Shamesi's number one and the Tremere are a bloodline of the Shamesi number two.
Right.
And then number three would be the Lasombra. Number two would be the Lasombra. And then the Kaisen are a bloodline of the Lasombra.
Right. Right. They're
Okay.
adjacent.
And then level three would be the Giovanni clan and all the bloodlines that eventually become the Hakata.
Right.
That would be number three. The number four would be the Bali.
Right.
And by association, the Sedites, because they're basically like
Right.
an Egyptian version of a Bali. They're no different.
That makes sense.
And
All right.
so, yeah, I guess if I had a fifth favorite clan, let's see, I did the two Sabat ones, did the Cappadocians, the Sedites. It's not going to get mentioned. Ravnos, I hate them. And then the other clans, I bet pretty much because I clumped in so many things into my four, I made it into four clans because I put the Tremere as the bloodline of the Shamesi and the Kaisen as the bloodline of the Lasombra.
Yeah.
And then all of the Hakata is basically three. And then I basically lumped the Bali as almost like a bloodline of Sedites.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the Nagaraja are actually a bloodline of Sedites. They're not really from the Hakata at all. They just got incorporated into the Hakata later.
Yeah. All right.
So that's pretty much it. Those are my favorites.
So there we go. For the audience, there's our dive into like our favorite and least favorite vampire clans. And we'll cover more because I believe you are planning on eventually having a campaign that we're going to run and have some fun with.
Yeah.
At some point.
I will show you what suffering is. I will show you what life is like in the Sabbat the right way.
That sounds like fun. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping that this, for the audience, that this was, like I said, if you're into Vampire the Masquerade, this is a start. And we're going to cover this a lot more as we develop the campaign and have some fun stories to tell and share. So, yeah.
We could go next time, we not every episode, but the next time we cover this subject, we might want to go like, what are our 5 favorite and least favorite disciplines?
We could do that.
Which, of course, there's like 50 disciplines. There's the 10 basic one. Then there's all the bloodlines, like, Melpomene is probably one you're not as familiar with. Ogham, Spiritus, Bardo. Like, there's some obscure fucking disciplines
and
that like
Obia,
4 people have. Yeah. Obia, Valeran. Like, there's so many obscure ass disciplines because only 7 Salubri have Obia.
Yeah.
So literally 7 people on the planet have that discipline.
And the cool thing is, like, not only that, then there's the fact that there are the combinations of disciplines that also make for really cool powers, which is a whole other thing. We could go into, like, what are the most unique, combinations of powers.
One of my favorite is Aegis of Entropy. When you use, where you can craft the shadows into a blade with potence or armor with fortitude.
See, that's super cool.
It's fucking awesome. Aegis of Entropy is fucking amazing.
All right, guys. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the dive between the Doctor and myself. And like I said, we will continue covering nerdy stuff as we go on the show. And again, thank you for your time. If you're into Vampire the Masquerade, if you're into nerdy shit, if you just want to hear us rant about crazy shit, subscribe, like, watch the show. All right, Todd, as always, thank you so much. It's been super fun.
My pleasure, man.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Talk to you later, buddy.
All right.